the flashes exploded. Amid the roaring cheers of thousands of spectators, Doutzen Kroes stepped onto the catwalk, her Victoria's Secret angel wings glittering under the spotlight. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still. Her golden hair shimmered like Dutch sunlight, her deep blue eyes carried the mystery of the ocean, and her sculpted figure appeared almost unreal. She was called the Dutch Angel, a symbol of purity, allure, and power on the runway. Yet behind that dazzling light, shadows always lingered. Doutzen was not just a supermodel. She was a woman torn between two worlds, the desire to soar higher and the crushing weight of perfection. Her career was a sequence of triumphs, but it came with controversies, criticism, and the suffocating demands of the fashion industry. It was the same paradox that haunted the 90-second Supermodels, a constant battle between glory and destruction, between beauty and the dark side of fashion. Few people knew that before becoming one of the highest-paid faces in the world, Doutzen was only a small-town girl from a quiet fishing village in the Netherlands. The journey from an isolated countryside to becoming a shining star on the global stage reads like a modern myth, enchanting yet cruel. And this is the story we are about to tell, the light and the darkness of a so-called angel, whose name still echoes in the fashion world, Doutzen Kroes. Before the runway lights ever called her name, Doutzen Kroes was just a simple girl growing up in Eastermar, a tiny village in Friesland, the northern part of the Netherlands. It was not Paris with its glamour, nor New York with its electric chaos. It was a quiet land of fields and lakes, where the wind carried the scent of salt from the sea, and the earth was painted green by endless meadows. That modest environment shaped a girl whose beauty was not constructed, but organic, something raw and unpolished that later became her secret weapon on the global stage. She was born into a working-class family. Her father was a skipper who spent most of his life at sea, while her mother worked as a teacher. They raised their daughter with simple values: work hard, live honestly, and stay connected to nature. In their wooden house near the lake, Doutzen's childhood was filled with bicycle rides to school, afternoons spent running through fields, and evenings gathered around the family table. Nothing in that picture hinted at the glamorous world that awaited her. From an early age, she was different. Taller than her classmates, with striking features and piercing blue eyes, Doutzen often stood out. But instead of embracing the attention, she was shy and reserved. She didn't dream of becoming a model or an actress. Her childhood dreams were modest. She once wanted to be a teacher, like her mother, or perhaps a dancer. That quiet humility later became one of her trademarks, making her relatable to millions who saw her not just as a fashion icon, but as a genuine human being. Eastermar was her safe haven. She spent hours wandering across the countryside, rowing on calm waters, or simply lying in the grass, gazing at the vast sky. People said that her blue eyes seemed to capture the very essence of Friesland's skies and waters. That connection to her homeland gave her a kind of hidden energy, a radiance that was not staged but born from nature itself. However, her childhood was not entirely idyllic. Her unusual height and slender figure sometimes made her a target for teasing. While other children blended into the crowd, she stood apart. That sense of isolation could have broken a weaker spirit, but for Doutzen, it became the foundation of resilience. She learned to endure, to carry herself with quiet strength traits that later protected her in the brutal world of fashion. Growing up in Friesland also meant growing up bilingual. She spoke both Dutch and Frisian, the local language that carried the pride of her community. This dual identity gave her a deep sense of belonging. Even as she rose to international fame, Doutzen would proudly declare, "I am a Frisian girl." It was not just a phrase, it was a statement of roots, a reminder of where she came from. In those early years, no one, not even Doutzen herself, imagined that she would one day walk the world's greatest catwalks. But that simplicity, the grounding in modest family life, and the deep bond with her homeland created a foundation that allowed her to navigate fame without losing herself. The story of Doutzen Kroes begins not with fashion, but with the wind, the fields, and the quiet resilience of a girl from Friesland, Doutzen Kroes' life changed completely on a day that seemed perfectly ordinary. At that time, she was still just a Frisian girl living simply, with no concept of catwalks or glossy magazine covers. She hadn't even applied to be a model. Instead, it was a close friend who secretly sent her photos to a modeling agency in Amsterdam. That single, almost accidental gesture opened the door to destiny. When Doutzen received the agency's invitation, her first reaction was hesitation. She never thought she was special enough to be a model. In the mirror, she only saw a tall girl with blue eyes and blonde hair, but one who was shy and reserved. The idea of standing in front of a camera or walking in front of strangers filled her with fear. And yet curiosity stirred within her the urge to discover what might lie beyond her small-town borders. That curiosity pushed her to say yes. Her very first casting took place in a modest studio in Amsterdam. As the door opened, she stepped into a different universe. Blinding lights, photographers adjusting their lenses, unfamiliar faces assessing her every move. Her heart pounded as she walked forward, trembling with nerves. But it was precisely her authenticity, those unguarded blue eyes, her unpolished grace that caught their attention. They didn't see an industry-made model. They saw something raw and pure, a beauty that had not yet been molded. Her career began with just a few simple photographs sent through the agency's website. But those images traveled fast, drawing unexpected attention. Soon after, she was called for her first test shoots. At first, Doutzen felt awkward in front of the lens, uncertain how to pose. Yet, after only a few sessions, something clicked. She began to feel at ease, not by pretending to be someone else, but by being exactly who she was, a girl with a soft smile and a gaze that spoke louder than words. Her family's reaction, however, was mixed. Her parents were worried that their daughter might get swallowed up by a superficial world of glamour and temptation. Her mother, ever the teacher, encouraged her to continue her studies instead of chasing fleeting fame. Doutzen listened, but she also knew that modeling was not just a dream, it was an opportunity. To her, it was a chance to see the world, to escape the narrow boundaries of her village, and to prove that even a Frisian girl could stand on the global stage. This tension between her family's concerns and her own quiet ambition became her driving force. Doutzen made a promise to herself. She would explore this new world, but would not lose her roots. She would remain grounded, no matter how high she climbed. That promise carried her into the next chapter of her journey. From an ordinary girl with no ambitions of fame, Doutzen Kroes was about to step into the brutal yet glittering universe of fashion, one that had once shaped the legends of the 90s Supermodels, and one that would eventually expose her to the dark side of fashion as well. In just a few short years, Doutzen Kroes transformed from a village girl in Friesland into one of the most sought-after faces in the global fashion industry. When she arrived in New York in 2003, the city's top photographers and agencies immediately took notice. Her angelic face, balanced figure, and radiant freshness made her the muse every designer longed for. Her first major breakthrough came when she appeared on the cover of Vogue Italia, a publication that could launch or redefine a career. That image wasn't just a photograph, it was a declaration to the fashion world. A new star had arrived. From there, the doors of the industry flew open. Vogue Paris, Vogue US, Elle, Harper's Bazaar. Her face graced the most prestigious covers. Critics and editors hailed her as the next top model of the new decade, positioning her as the natural successor to the legendary 90s Supermodels who had dominated the catwalks before her. But magazines were only the beginning. Doutzen quickly became a fixture on the runways of Paris, Milan, and New York. She walked for Chanel, Gucci, Valentino, Dolce, and Gabbana, names that defined high fashion. Yet what set her apart was not just the clothes she wore, but the way she embodied them. Each show felt like a story unfolding. Her gaze could be both sharp and tender, her smile subtle yet magnetic, her walk radiating confidence. Audiences weren't simply watching, they were captivated. Perhaps nothing cemented her legacy more than her work with Victoria's Secret. When Doutzen first stepped onto the runway with the iconic angel wings, it was more than just a fashion show, it was a global event. In that moment, she wasn't just a model, she was an international symbol of confidence, sensuality, and glamour. To many, Doutzen represented the bridge between the golden age of the 90-second supermodels and the evolving world of the new millennium. Her appeal went beyond the runway. Major brands recognized her power and authenticity. L'Oréal Paris made her their global ambassador, a role reserved for only the most iconic figures. With the slogan, "Because I'm worth it," Doutzen brought warmth and relatability to the brand, reshaping its image while keeping its prestige intact. Campaign after campaign, she proved herself not just a model but a cultural figure whose presence sold more than products, it sold ideals. Her career was never about ticking boxes of success. It was about crafting an image of a modern-day angel who combined purity with strength. Colleagues admired her professionalism, her relentless work ethic, and her ability to balance humility with stardom. On the runway, in print, and in advertising, Doutzen Kroes carved her place among the greats. At the height of her fame, she stood not only as one of the highest-paid models in the world, but also as one of the most respected. Her journey was not just a resume of shows and covers. It was a cinematic rise, a transformation into an icon whose presence reminded the world of both the allure and the dangers of fashion. The shimmer of light, but also the shadows of the dark side of fashion. If Doutzen Kroes had remained only a Victoria's Secret angel or a Vogue cover girl, she would have blended into the long line of beautiful faces in fashion history. But what set her apart, what made her an icon rather than just another model, was her courage, her choices, and her refusal to let the industry define her entirely. One of Doutzen's most striking qualities was her loyalty to natural beauty. While many of her peers succumbed to the pressures of cosmetic procedures or extreme body standards, she consistently defended her authenticity. She kept her golden hair unaltered, her features untouched, and her body healthy rather than dangerously thin. She once said candidly, "I want young girls to know that you don't have to change yourself to be loved. Real beauty comes from confidence." In an industry built on illusions, that message made her stand out and turned her into a role model beyond the catwalk. Her courage also showed in the contracts she turned down. Doutzen refused certain high-paying endorsements because she felt the products were harmful, manipulative, or contrary to her values. In a world where money and fame often silence principles, her decisions drew admiration. She proved that integrity could coexist with success, even in an industry notorious for the dark side of fashion. But Doutzen's influence extended far beyond modeling. She used her platform to speak out on social issues, lending her voice to campaigns for children's rights, environmental protection, and, above all, women's empowerment. She gave passionate speeches urging the fashion world to embrace diversity and abandon the toxic obsession with impossible body ideals. By standing firm, she challenged the very system that had built her career. Equally important was her ability to balance the surreal glamour of modeling with a grounded personal life. While other models chased constant exposure, Doutzen often retreated to Friesland, where she found solace in her family and nature. Photos of her barefoot in the grass with her children contrasted sharply with the extravagant campaigns that filled magazines. That duality, an international superstar who could still live as a village girl, reinforced her authenticity. In many ways, her path echoed the resilience of the 90-second supermodels, who were celebrated not only for their beauty, but for their ability to command their own identities. Doutzen carried that legacy into the 2002 and beyond, carving a space where a model could be both glamorous and principled, both adored and outspoken. Her story proves that true icons are not remembered just for the covers they graced or the runways they dominated. They are remembered for their impact, how they shaped perceptions and inspired change. Doutzen Kroes was more than a supermodel. She was a woman who redefined what it meant to be an angel. Not just wings and glitter, but integrity, bravery, and a voice strong enough to echo far beyond the runway. And that is why Doutzen remains unforgettable, not only as a face of beauty, but as a force of courage, in an industry that often tries to silence it. At her peak, Doutzen Kroes seemed untouchable. Her career glistened with triumphs, and her image radiated perfection. But as the unwritten rule of fashion dictates, the brighter the light, the deeper the shadow. Beneath the angel wings and global fame, Doutzen faced crushing pressures from fans, the media, and from herself. The first major storm came when she publicly shared her views on vaccines during the pandemic. What she may have intended as an honest statement instantly ignited controversy. Headlines erupted, social media turned into a battlefield, and contracts quietly slipped away. For a model so closely tied to international brands, the backlash was seismic. Almost overnight, the angel once admired worldwide became a polarizing figure. But this was not the only weight she carried. From her earliest days, Doutzen struggled against the brutal standards of body image imposed by fashion. Even though she was praised for her healthy physique, she was still pressured to slim down further to fit the industry's rigid mold. At times, this left her physically drained and emotionally fragile. In a rare interview, she admitted, "People only see the spotlight. They don't see the tears I shed backstage when exhaustion broke me." The mental toll became impossible to ignore. The demand to remain perfect at all times slowly suffocated her spirit. Doutzen began stepping away from major shows, appearing less frequently. Fans were puzzled. Why would a star at the height of her power retreat? But the truth was simple: survival. She needed to protect herself, even if it meant walking away from the glitter. The media, relentless as ever, seized on her absence. "Has the angel fallen?" screamed one headline. "Is Doutzen Kroes disappearing from fashion?" wondered another. Speculation ran wild. Some lamented the industry's loss, while others criticized her choices, but one consensus was clear. Fashion had lost a rare presence, a star whose glow had once felt irreplaceable. Yet for Doutzen, leaving was not a defeat, it was a decision. She chose to return to Friesland, to rediscover peace with her husband and children. On Instagram, she shared glimpses of this new life: jeans and bare feet in the grass, laughter with her children, and a serenity that no catwalk could replicate. These images, stripped of spectacle, carried more power than any glossy cover. Still, her withdrawal left questions hanging. Did she step away because of exhaustion, the relentless judgment of the media, or because she no longer believed in the very system that had made her famous? Only Doutzen knows the full answer. But what is undeniable is that the fashion world had once again revealed its dual nature, the glory that elevates and the abyss that consumes. Her story was not unique. It echoed the struggles of the 90s Supermodels, many of whom also faced burnout, addiction, and disillusionment. Doutzen's fall was another reminder of the dark side of fashion, a place where angels can fly higher than anyone imagined, only to find their wings clipped by the very machine that adored them. Doutzen Kroes may have stepped away from the blinding lights of the runway, but her mark on the fashion industry remains indelible. She is remembered not just as a Victoria's Secret angel, but as a woman who dared to choose, to speak, and to live authentically. In a world where beauty is often trapped within rigid standards, Doutzen proved that naturalness and individuality create the most lasting impact. She became an inspiration for countless women to love their own bodies, to say no to unreasonable demands, and to prioritize happiness over fleeting fame. Her voice carried weight not because it was loud, but because it was real. Even today, though her appearances are rare, her presence lingers in public memory as something different. She did not end her career with a scandalous collapse or a tragic downfall. She ended it on her own terms with serenity, as a mother, a wife, and a Frisian girl who never forgot her roots. That quiet choice spoke louder than any runway show. Perhaps this is the true reward of her journey, not just the shining wings or the applause of millions, but the freedom to define her life beyond fashion. The world still debates the meaning of her retreat, but one truth stands clear: Doutzen Kroes remains an icon who balanced glory with humanity. Her story forces us to reflect. In an industry haunted by the triumphs and the tragedies of the 90-second supermodels, and forever shadowed by the dark side of fashion, maybe the bravest act of all was to walk away and still remain unforgettable.